You ever think about how much sports actually, like, run our lives?
Mm.
It's kind of wild when you stop and think about it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, how do they actually shape our world?
Yay.
That's what we're going to, like, really get into today.
Okay, cool.
We've got a ton of research on how sports affect us, everything from, like, our personal health and our communities
Mm-hmm.
to the economy and even education.
Interesting.
I've spent years trying to understand how societies work, how people thrive,
Yeah,
and I'm really excited to dig into this with you today.
me too.
So our mission here is to figure out those key ways that sports actually mold our world, like how far does their influence really reach?
Got it.
So let's start with something pretty basic.
Okay.
Health.
Yeah, so when it comes to sports, the health benefits are, well, massive.
Hmm.
And it's not just about playing either. Even if you're just a fan watching from the sidelines,
Right.
it still impacts your well-being.
That makes sense.
Of course, the benefits are even greater when you're actively participating.
Oh, absolutely. And the variety of physical benefits, it's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about improvements to your cardiovascular fitness,
Yeah.
How well your heart and lungs work together. That's crucial for, like, managing your weight.
Totally.
But it goes beyond that, right?
It does, yeah. Participating in sports helps build muscle and reduce body fat.
Uh-huh.
But there's research that suggests that it can also slow down the aging process
Right.
and even improve balance and coordination,
Wow.
which, over time actually makes you less prone to injuries.
It's funny because you don't always think about sports in terms of preventing injuries, right?
Right.
You kind of associate it with the risk of getting hurt.
Yeah, I get that.
But it sounds like it strengthens your body in a way.
It really does, and it's not just about preventing those injuries. It's also about fighting off some pretty serious health concerns.
Right, of course.
There's a lot of evidence that shows that being active through sports is a super effective way to prevent chronic diseases.
Oh, I see.
Those that are linked to inactivity and a poor diet,
Mm-hmm.
like high blood pressure,
Mm.
stress, high cholesterol, things like that.
Right.
Sports can really help keep those under control.
And what about our heart health?
Yeah, that's a big one. Regular physical activity makes your heart muscle stronger, which helps it work better.
Yeah.
And that lowers the risk of heart failure and stroke.
That's huge.
Yeah. And if you look at the trend of people living more sedentary lifestyles, especially kids,
Yeah.
sports become even more important.
Oh, for sure.
It's a way to fight back against those negative health consequences we're seeing in younger generations,
Right.
like obesity, early onset diabetes. It's worrying.
Absolutely.
But sports can be a big part of the solution.
Yeah, that's good to know.
There are even reports from organizations like the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services
Right.
and the European Heart Network that show the risk of serious health problems like obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, osteoporosis.
Wow.
Even certain types of cancer and strokes is lower in people who are physically active.
It's a pretty compelling case for getting out there and moving.
Right.
But we can't just talk about the physical side.
Of course not.
What about the mental and emotional benefits?
Oh, those are huge, too.
Yeah.
Sports have a significant positive influence on your mental and emotional well-being.
In what way?
Well, they can lift your mood, reduce stress and anxiety,
Mhm.
even help with symptoms of depression.
So how does that work? Like, what's happening in our bodies?
Well, it's pretty interesting. It's about brain chemistry.
Okay.
Physical activity, including sports, makes your brain more sensitive to things like serotonin and norepinephrine.
What are those?
Those are chemical messengers in your brain that help regulate your mood.
Got it.
And exercise also releases endorphins.
Oh, yeah.
Those are natural pain relievers that also contribute to those feelings of well-being.
So it's like this natural mood booster and a way to manage discomfort,
Exactly.
all thanks to being active.
Right.
Now, I know a lot of people struggle with getting a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Can sports help with that?
Oh, absolutely. Regular exercise, like participating in sports, can really help regulate sleep patterns.
Really?
Yeah, when you exert yourself physically,
Mm-hmm.
it uses up energy, which promotes more restful sleep.
Okay.
Plus, your body temperature rises during exercise and then drops afterward.
Right.
And that's been linked to better sleep quality as well.
Wow.
Some research suggests that even just 150 minutes of exercise a week can significantly improve your sleep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So from our hearts to our minds to even our sleep, it sounds like sports are a key factor in keeping us healthy overall.
Definitely.
But this influence, it doesn't stop with the individual, does it?
Nope, not at all.
What about the social impact of sports?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Sports are a huge driver of social integration and community building,
Okay.
especially for children.
In what way?
Well, when kids are involved in sports, they get to meet new people,
Yeah.
make friends, and learn important social skills,
That makes sense.
which, in turn can help boost their self-esteem and give them a stronger sense of belonging.
So it's more than just a game. It's about building confidence and connecting with others.
Exactly. And
Mm.
particularly with team sports, you develop some really important abilities.
Like what?
Teamwork and leadership skills, which are, essential not just in sports,
Yeah, yeah.
but in life in general.
Of course.
Participating in sports also teaches you things like dedication, perseverance, and discipline.
Those are huge.
And these qualities, they go way beyond the playing field.
Right.
And there's research that shows that when young people are involved in sports, it can even have a positive impact on the socioeconomic well-being of entire communities.
That's pretty incredible. But beyond those positive connections, can sports also help address some of the negative social issues we see?
Yeah, there's evidence that suggests that they can.
Okay.
Sports can offer a really valuable alternative to potentially harmful behaviors.
How so?
Well, think about it. Engaging in constructive activities like sports can reduce the likelihood of young people getting involved in things like drug use or violence.
Right, because it gives them a positive outlet.
Exactly. They have a place to channel their energy,
Hmm.
and they learn about responsibility.
For sure. So it's about channeling that energy in a positive way and teaching them life lessons.
Yeah.
What about bridging divides within communities?
That's a really crucial benefit of sports.
Ah.
They have this amazing capacity to foster social inclusion.
Oh.
When people come together through a shared interest like sports, it helps build strong social networks.
Right.
And this can be especially powerful in breaking down social stigmas and segregation against minority groups and people with disabilities.
That's so important.
It is. It's about focusing on what people can do together rather than their differences.
Mhm.
So when people from diverse backgrounds participate side by side,
Right.
they're focused on shared experiences,
Yeah.
which helps erode those negative perceptions and attitudes.
Right.
And, sports programs that actively include people from all socioeconomic backgrounds can further break down those barriers just by participating together.
It's like sports can be a unifying force in society.
Absolutely. And that extends to how we communicate and mobilize as a society as well.
How so?
Well, sports are hugely popular, right? So it's a very influential medium for communication.
I see.
Think about it. You often see large organizations and companies using the influence of athletes
Right.
to encourage positive lifestyle changes, like promoting physical activity for young people.
Yeah, yeah.
You also see nonprofits partnering with athletes and sports organizations
Hmm.
to raise awareness and funds for important health initiatives,
Okay.
like obesity prevention campaigns.
Right.
And even at the local level,
Mm.
you have healthcare professionals using sporting events as opportunities to educate communities about things like vaccinations or disease prevention.
It's amazing how the platform of sports can be used for such important social messages.
It is.
Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about the economic contributions of sports.
Okay.
I mean, it's a huge industry,
It is.
but how does it actually impact us beyond just entertainment?
Well, the economic benefits are pretty big, and they touch a lot of different areas.
Like what?
So, on an individual level, you have professional athletes, especially in popular sports like basketball, football, tennis, track and field.
Yeah.
They can earn a really good living,
Yeah?
which directly contributes to their financial well-being, and supports their families.
It's a real career path for a lot of people and, very lucrative for some.
It is.
But it's not just the athletes themselves who benefit economically, right?
No, not at all.
How so?
The sports sector creates tons of jobs that aren't just about playing. Coaching, medical care for athletes, sports instruction.
Ooh, right.
And then when countries host major international sporting events, like the World Cup or the Olympics,
Yeah,
there's a huge influx of revenue,
of course.
and it gives them international marketing advantages.
Those events really put a country on the map.
They do. They also bring in a lot of tourism.
Mm-hmm. What about governments? Do they see a direct financial benefit from sports?
Yeah, definitely.
How so?
Governments collect taxes from those high-earning professional athletes,
Right.
which they can then use to fund public services and contribute to economic growth.
Okay.
And this is often overlooked, but encouraging people to participate in sports can actually lead to a reduction in healthcare costs over time.
How's that work?
Well, when people live active lifestyles, they're less likely to develop illnesses linked to inactivity.
Like we were talking about before.
Exactly.
Like obesity, diabetes.
Things like that. Treating those conditions is incredibly expensive, so when you have more people participating in sports,
Wow.
it can result in big savings for the healthcare system.
That's a good point.
And then there's all the consumer spending around sports.
Like what?
Merchandise sales, subscriptions to watch games, participation fees in sports leagues, the purchase of equipment, all of that adds up.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's a whole ecosystem of economic activity.
It really is. Now let's move on to something that might be less obvious, but equally important. The educational advantages of sports.
All right.
So how does being involved in sports impact the way we learn?
Well, this is a fascinating area. Research has shown a consistent link between sports participation and better academic performance.
So you're saying that being physically active can actually make you a better student?
Yeah, basically. There are a few reasons for this.
Like what?
Well, it can increase energy levels, improve cognitive function.
What does that mean?
There have been studies that show a link between physical activity and improvements in things like attention and working memory. It also helps develop positive character traits, like discipline and work ethic, which are important for academics too.
So those skills transfer over.
They do, yeah. And students who are involved in sports often have higher self-esteem and confidence, which means they approach their academic work with more assurance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Research has also shown that they tend to develop stronger interpersonal skills and just generally exhibit more positive behaviors.
It makes sense, especially with team sports, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It must teach you a lot about how to interact with others effectively.
Oh, definitely. Participating in sports, especially team sports, improves your decision-making abilities.
Okay.
You learn to think strategically, react quickly in changing situations.
Yeah.
It also cultivates a sense of accountability and responsibility
Why?
because students are making choices within the game and understanding their role within the team.
So it's like a valuable learning environment, but different from a traditional classroom.
It is, yeah. Sports also help students develop organizational skills like focus, dedication, planning, and even creativity.
Really?
Yeah, they have to come up with strategies on the field or the court.
Right.
And as we talked about before with the social benefits, that enhanced self-esteem and confidence from sports,
Yeah.
that plays a big role in education too.
It must be a huge motivator having that belief in yourself,
It is,
both in academics and in life.
for sure.
I mean, self-esteem, that sense of believing in your own abilities,
Yeah,
that's what pushes you to put in the effort and strive for your potential.
exactly. And sports help you learn those important life skills like valuing teamwork and that positive mindset, that ability to face challenges.
Yeah.
It carries over to everything you do.
Right, of course.
It's clear that there are a lot of advantages to sports and they're overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
But to be completely fair, there are a few downsides as well.
Okay. What are they?
Well, research has shown that there are some potential risks associated with sports.
Okay.
The most obvious one is the risk of injuries.
Yeah, that's fair.
These can range from things like muscle strains and sprains,
Right.
which are pretty common, to more serious injuries like concussions and dental damage.
Right.
These injuries can obviously have a big impact on an athlete's life, both immediately and in the long term.
Of course.
And then there's the pressure to perform, especially in those competitive environments,
Yeah.
which can sometimes be tough psychologically for young athletes.
Right.
But it's not just about the physical well-being either.
No.
No, the influence of coaches and the overall sporting culture are really important too.
In what way?
Well, unfortunately, you sometimes see negative coaching behaviors,
Like what?
like aggression or rudeness.
Okay.
And those can have a bad effect on young people's behavior and social interactions,
Oh, right.
which can then lead to them being impatient or having trouble forming healthy relationships.
That's a good point.
And then you have the increasing commercialization of youth sports,
Yeah.
which can sometimes put too much emphasis on winning
Right.
at the expense of the well-being and development of the young athletes.
That's not good.
No, it's not. And there can be a big financial burden on families involved in elite youth sports,
Of course.
which can lead to exclusion based on socioeconomic status.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
It's important to acknowledge that these things exist.
It really is.
So we need to make sure we have positive role models,
Yeah.
responsible guidance, and a focus on overall development in youth sports.
It's clear that sports are so much more than just games that we play or watch.
Yeah.
They're really deeply integrated into so many aspects of our lives.
It's pretty amazing, actually, how powerful an influence they have.
It really is. Sports aren't just about entertainment.
Right.
They're shaping our health, our societies, our economies, our education, even our personal growth. They're preventing chronic diseases. They're bringing people together, boosting our confidence. They're providing economic opportunities. It's really profound.
It is. And when you consider all of these benefits, it makes you realize just how important it is to promote healthy participation in sports at every level
Right.
for both individual and community well-being.
Absolutely. So given everything we've talked about today, how do you think a greater emphasis on sports participation could transform our communities and our well-being in the future?
That's a really good question.
It's definitely something to think about.
It is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on Story Unlimited.
My pleasure.